So, I mean, there are people out there, and there's actually a great lady out of Ottawa who I think has done a great job. She set up people saying, oh, my article got 100,000 views. Okay. It was probably a little bit of a fluke. Not saying it wasn't a good article, but you can't set that expectation for people. You write an article because it's a good article for you, and hopefully people read it.
Yeah, and the views and the likes and all that is a bit of a vanity, metric for people.
Yeah. I mean, and there's an example of a woman, I think she's out of Australia, and I think her tagline is brains over breasts or something to that effect. I don't know what I
think I'm connected with her.
It is, but she spends all this time doing these videos, and I guess someone had attacked her online and said, well, if you weren't a woman, then, they wouldn't have all these views. And she went a little bit crazy on it. And I'm saying, well, you kind of called the guy out by A, your tagline, and B, don't go crazy on people when they question it. It's fine that that's your tagline. It may not be appropriate, but it's fine. But you got to expect a little bit of blowback sometimes, right? I mean, that's just life. And that's, I think, the fear for some people is they don't want to go out there on LinkedIn because they're afraid of the blowback. You never want to argue with people online. It's just not a good idea. So you want to be careful about that, but also don't let someone stop you from putting up your views. But it's probably easier to write an article to start than do a video. Not all people should do video. Just because you have a camera doesn't mean you should. I see these guys.
You have a camera.
I hope we're not one of those people.
There was a guy, I think he was looking for a marketing job, and the video wasn't even framed properly. I'm like, you're a marketing professional. If you can't shoot video well, don't shoot it. Do an article, right? Do a post that has some content. It doesn't need to be video. And test, right? I post daily, and I test different images. I've done some video work. I prefer images just because, to me, shooting video, unless I'm adding value, there's no reason to do it, right? So, and unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time to shoot video for video's sake. That's not to say that video isn't a good medium. I think it is. But, to me, it has to add value. If it's not adding value, why do it, right? But, that's not to say video is bad. I think video is very prevalent on LinkedIn, more so than it's ever been. That's not to say that an article with a great image won't get you just as much interaction. It might. It could get you more, right? And I don't think men or women are necessarily better at video. I think the key thing is add value, right?
Value, 100%.
Yeah, speak about something that has value. Don't just do video to tell me what's going on with you today. That's not to say that's bad, but it doesn't add any value, right? I mean, I think what Gary does well, and, some people probably will disagree. What Gary does well is he tells you the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's not easy for everyone to do.
No.
That's not.
And he also has a videographer that, follows him everywhere. It's a little bit, he doesn't have to worry about the editing or the, any of that stuff. So a little bit different,
He's been doing it
level.
For 10 years. It's not new. Gary's
but
been
I
doing
see a lot of people trying to be Grant Cardone and trying to be the Gary V, and
I don't see anyone doing a good job trying to be Gary V.
No.
yourself.
Maybe.
That's the thing. Everyone else is
be genuine, and that's one of Gary V. Gary V talks about being yourself and being genuine.
Yeah,
and actually,
self-awareness.
Ian, Ian is actually the one who introduced me to Gary V. It was a huge eye opener when Gary V said, "Just be yourself." Ian, I think I'd watched one of Gary V's videos, and I went into a Ford dealership, and I thought, I'm just going to tell this guy what I think. And I said, your bathroom's dirty. The trucks out there are crooked, and that's an ugly tie, sir. You know what he said to me? Get this girl a coffee. So things started changing for me when I started being myself and being genuine and being who Janice is. So I'd agree. Don't try and be anybody else.
Yeah. And
love that, Ian.
And patience.
You're not going to be good at being anyone else.
No, you're good at being yourself. There's a lot of truth there. You take one thing away. Tons of good stuff here, Ian. Tons of good stuff.
Yeah.
And then from a point of view of LinkedIn pay membership versus free membership. So if someone's telling you, I'm a LinkedIn expert or I'm a LinkedIn trainer, and not to say they aren't, I really don't know. But I mean, I've had discussions over the years with many global trainers that I know personally and ones that I see online. The first question for them is, okay, should I be a pay member or should I be a free member of LinkedIn? Now, that's a good question to ask because have never been pay members, which really surprises me. But there's always reasons. So if you're a salesperson and you use LinkedIn on a daily basis, or if you're a recruiter and you use LinkedIn on a daily basis, if you're not paying them, you're missing a lot. You just need to pay them. And there's reasons. But my argument there is, first of all, pay them monthly just in case you want to change your membership. But also, do the training. There's a lot of training online available for free on LinkedIn. So you can do that. If you want to learn LinkedIn, use it every day. Use it for an hour or whatever that time allows. Pay membership gives you a lot of options. So things like InMail, the ability to look at the entire network, those kind of things. And really set yourself, a game plan and goals every day. So if that's an hour you spend or half an hour, that's what's going to get you there. But don't be surprised if you can't get from 5 connections to 30,000 in a year, because it takes a lot of time. The fastest I've ever seen anyone do it is a guy in the UK that I know, and he did it by spending hours every day for a year. So he spent like 4 or 5 hours a day for a year, and he was very, very committed, and he got to the 30,000. But he spent a lot of time, right? So that it takes a lot of consistent effort. The other mistake I think people make, and it's rightly or wrongly, is they don't connect or don't reach out to people outside of their network. The power in the network isn't just on the people that you know, it's in the people that you don't know, right? So, you got to be a little careful now with some people that are, the profiles clearly aren't real people, or, they're one of the many people from India wanting to sell you SEO services, which seem to be prevalent today. But, you just got to, look at the profile first and make a judgment call based on what makes sense. If there's not a lot of information on the profile or it doesn't add up, it's probably not a real person.
How do you feel about messaging?
In terms of what?
In terms of messaging to connect with people for business purposes. How do you start that conversation? What's the best sort of approach? Because you do have access to their profile. You do know how long they've been at their job. You know so many things. And I just asked because there was a certain situation where I didn't look into this person's profile, and I just wanted to spark up a conversation. So I went with, the most logical kind of thing you ask someone that you don't know, which is about themselves or about where they work. And his response was, just look at my profile. It's all there. And I was like,
well, first of all, you have access to a lot of information. So that's the first thing that is good and bad. So I'll use Sales Navigator as a piece of that, and then I'll also use regular LinkedIn. So if you're a free member of LinkedIn, what you can do is you can look at every day who's looking at your profile. Now, you're limited by how many people. So you can look at, let's say that 6 people that look at your profile on a daily basis or whatever it is, as long as they're not incognito. If you pay, you can look at a whole bunch of other metrics. Now, if I'm looking at someone that's outside of my network, what I want to do to connect to that person is really try to help them out. Don't start by trying to sell them on something. So I'll use an example of India, which again, I'm not really beating up on India, but let's say, for example, I get a request from Bangladesh or India or even Nigeria or Russia. Those seem to be the 4 countries where they want to connect with me, and the profile looks okay. They're an SEO person or they're a programmer or whatever. The next email I get when I connect with that person is a sales email.
Yeah.
That's not a good plan. Don't do that. Don't do that. The same thing is true as if I get kind of a thinly guised connection email, like, oh, I looked at your profile, it looks great, connect. That's fine if that person connects with you. But I would argue with, listen, I looked at your profile, I see we have a lot of common experience, I'd love to see if I can help you grow your network or grow your business, connect with me kind of thing. I'd be very transparent about it. And then build a relationship. Now, there's advantages to LinkedIn versus email. And the reason being, people generally get less LinkedIn requests for connection or even messaging within LinkedIn than they get anywhere else. So if I get, let's call it 150, 200 emails a day, LinkedIn, I might get 5 if I'm pretty active. If I'm really active, I might get 20, right? But InMail is really the best way to do that in a very professional way. And you have to pay LinkedIn to get access to InMail. But InMail is like registered mail. So people have to respond, positive or negatively to it. And it is a little bit more professional if that person, say, is a third or fourth degree connection, or you have no common connections. Leveraging common connections is a real plus. So if I look at someone and I notice that they have 300 common connections with me, I'm going to note that in the message. I'm going to say, hey, I looked at your profile. You have a lot of common interests. I also noticed we have 300 common connections. Hey, I'd love to find out more about you. That kind of thing.
Great,
very
great
low.
tip there. Too.
Yeah, that's a good
tip
one.
there.
If you don't have any connections, sending an invite, that can be dicey. Just because they don't know who you are. That's not to say they won't accept it. It's just more doubtful. So if you have a common connection, leverage that. If you don't, paying LinkedIn to have access to InMail is huge, because InMail at least gives you that I did things the right way, or at least I'm trying. And don't try and connect to Bill Gates. That's not going to work. Bill Gates doesn't handle his social media. Neither does probably Oprah or any of these big celebrities. They don't do that.
Yeah.
Even people that are what I consider a real LinkedIn influencer, deemed by LinkedIn as a thought leader, most of them don't answer their own. I think it's Dory Clark. She's a Harvard MBA or PhD, and she writes a lot of articles and does courses. She has an assistant that handles that. Because I sent her a message. I'm like, yeah, I really liked your article. Love to connect. And her assistant handles that. So she doesn't even handle it. And she's not really a big celebrity. She's what I'd consider an influencer who's a thought leader. But she's not a big celebrity. But even she doesn't answer her own. She doesn't do that. I think that's a mistake. I think you should answer your own, unless you have so much volume that you can't do it. And that's the other thing that I think from a posting point of view. If you're using Hootsuite or if you're using one of these other aggregators to post on LinkedIn, be very careful that you're not posting too much, and always supplement that with some personal posts. So put a post up a day that you put up, that it's you. It's not a machine doing it. And that's also true with comments. Do some positive comments or do some insightful comments on other people's posts. Mm-hmm. They'll notice. The ones that are really engaged will thank you. That's how you know that those people are actual people. If you have some input, I had a post this morning from a guy I know. He's pretty active in automotive marketing. And he put a post this morning about Harley Davidson's new electric motorcycle, but he spelled motorcycle wrong. So I'm like, buddy, I love you, but fix the spelling, man.
Yeah, you lose something. If the headline is spelt wrong,
yeah,
you've lost me right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't put you're an expert in everything in your profile headline. You're not an expert in everything. Pick something. Talk about something. There's these people I see and they're like, sales trainer, expert.
Visionary, I like that one.
Visionary,
yes. Or visionary, yoga, I don't know, whatever. It's huge list, and it's okay, what are you? What?
And I think people's, BS meters are a little higher, especially on LinkedIn. You're talking to mostly, pretty educated people, and so you can't use that kind of stuff. People are going to see right through it.
And limit the massive amount of emojis. 20 emojis in your headline, just don't do that.
It's a little much.
Yeah. 3 different languages and 20 emojis? That's even worse. What are you doing? Stop. Yeah. But do remember that it is SEO and SEM. So your whole profile, use the characters that you can use because it is searchable.
Right.
If you search your name on Google, LinkedIn will probably come up number 1. For your name.
Yeah, most social networks.
Yeah, be careful about that. And also don't be afraid to play around. Don't do what some people did years ago. I don't see it as much anymore. What they did is they did profile stuffing. So they'd want to be listed for, call it SEO or SEM or internet marketing or whatever it was. So their whole profile would be internet marketing. That's not a good idea. Just don't do that. And I understand that there's people that are cognizant and they don't want to put a photo of themselves. Put a photo. I know that I've noticed lately, especially women, I think that they've been maybe harassed or whatever. And there's a lot of women with inappropriate photos too. And I'm sure there are men too. that bar photo from like a frat party 3 years ago, don't put that.
Keep that one off of LinkedIn.
And then when people meet you, they're like, "Oh, I was expecting someone else."
Yeah.
Don't put up a photo where your husband, boyfriend, significant other is cut out and it's obvious. Like,
So it's just like half your arm.
yeah. Don't do a photo that's like either so small it looks bad or it's obvious that it's not current. Like one that's like from 20 years ago. Or
yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Badly done.
Yeah,
like pay somebody to do it properly.
And I met a guy who had a old photo. It didn't look anything like him, and he was standing beside a white Challenger RT. Well, I love the Challenger. I sold Dodge, so I couldn't wait to ask him about his Challenger.
Right.
I said, "Great picture of your Challenger." I said, "How do you find gas mileage in that Hemi?" He said, "That wasn't my car." Oh, it wasn't your car? I was so disappointed. I wanted to talk. So I wanted to talk to him about his car, and it wasn't even his car. So don't take it beside a rental car that's not yours.
Or the one in front of a plane, or the one in front of a Rolls Royce or something. I don't know.
That doesn't belong to you.
This should be a profile that you'd be happy putting on, your business website or your resume, or a professional photograph, maybe from a wedding or something that's very professionally done.
Yeah.
High score college grad photo, for example. And the same is true with backgrounds. Like if you're doing a background, brand that background for your business. But be aware that some people put phone numbers and emails in their header description. Yeah. That's really against LinkedIn's rules. So be careful there. I mean, people do it, but it's not to say that it's sanctioned.
I didn't know that. That's against LinkedIn rules. No phone number in the header.
You shouldn't do that. Like if you're going to do it, the best place to do it is either in your description, with have a web link or that kind of thing, or put it in the background. You can embed it in the graphic in the background, and that people will find it. The other thing that really drives me batty, and I don't get it, I just still don't understand it. Remove old websites from your profile from places you used to work. Like people have those on there, and I'm like, what are you doing? B, old phone numbers or old emails, get rid of those. And always have an email and a phone number in your profile when someone connects to you, because most people won't take the time to look it up. They won't send you an email to get your phone number. If the phone number is in your profile once someone's connected to you, they're going to use that, whether it's on the LinkedIn app or whether it's on a desktop, and they're going to call you that way. I use it almost daily. So if there isn't a phone number, it's kind of annoying that you have to then find that out.
Or if the email that you use to sign up your LinkedIn account is like Susie Cutie 19 whatever.
Great tip on the phone number. I want to. Ian, you're making me want to go on my LinkedIn profile and fix it.
Yeah, I wonder how many of these rules we've broken.
And don't put your birth year. That should never be on your LinkedIn profile. People do that, and I don't understand it. Like, it's fine to put the day, that's fine, but don't be cognizant of that. You can choose what to show people, and you probably shouldn't give people your full birth year and day. I mean, it's fine to have the day and the month, but the year shouldn't be on there.
Okay.
That it's just not a good idea from a privacy point of view. There is some men online and even women online now that are trying to use LinkedIn as a dating platform. It's not a dating platform. That's not appropriate. That's not appropriate. And rightly or wrongly, there's also some men and women who have very inappropriate photographs, and that should be a big red flag. Like, don't have those profile photographs, first of all, but if they do, there's reasons.
Once I was speaking to somebody
from a college in California who's 25 isn't reaching out. That's not happening.
I was speaking to somebody, and I was for business purposes, and I went into his profile and looked at his activity to see, what his interests were, and just doing my due diligence.
Yep.
And almost every single post was activity was him commenting on a female profile, and it usually had something to do with their looks. So right away I said, thanks, but no thanks. That was an immediate red flag. So be careful what you're posting, because, LinkedIn posting or, commenting on, because under your activity, it's
recording
all
your activity,
it's all consolidated there for someone to see. So if there's a pattern there, and it's a pattern like that one, you're going to really miss out on some pretty good opportunities, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most HR companies or most companies that hire people, the first thing they're going to do after they look at your resume is look at your LinkedIn profile. Most of them will ask for your LinkedIn profile in an application anyway. But you got to remember the two most important people that spend time on LinkedIn in terms of biggest volume of time are salespeople and HR people. They spend the most time on the platform more than anybody else. They're going to be the most familiar, and they're going to know what to look for. So if you're posting stuff that's inappropriate or politically insensitive or even hateful, like that's not good. And if you own a business and you have employees who are active on LinkedIn, you got to be cognizant and tell them, like, listen, don't do these things, because it doesn't reflect well on the company either. I mean, that's what surprises me. A woman I went to college with, she used to work for Amazon in HR, and a gentleman that works with her, I think he's originally from the Netherlands, he posts the weirdest stuff on LinkedIn, and that reflects on Amazon. Like, to me, it's like, what are you doing? Like, stop doing that. Like, someone should tell him, like, it's great that you want to post this stuff, but it just reflects badly on the company, right? Yeah. If you're going to promote that company you work for, which I think is great, obviously don't post goofy stuff, right? You just get it approved by the company. Like, don't just randomly post stuff. Like, that's not good either, right? So you just got to be cognizant of the fact that this is public information, and you hit it right on the head. It's out there in public. And, people are going to do their homework, right? Yeah. So, if I'm someone who's posting on LinkedIn and I'm doing generally good content, and okay, people are going to make mistakes, it's fine. Bear in mind that, you can learn over time, right?
For sure.
And hey, I've had situations over the last probably 10 plus years I've been on LinkedIn where I've made mistakes. And I've made mistakes because sometimes, I'm not perfect by any stretch. And I've learned from those, right? I've seen people have epic fails on LinkedIn.
But you got to put yourself out there.
I try my best to audit that content and basically remove the content so that way they don't continue to be a fool publicly. But, I'm not on LinkedIn all the time. So,
yeah. Well, thank you so much, Ian. I learned a ton. You brought a lot of value to us today, Ian. And I really want to go back and look at my LinkedIn profile and check is my phone number available for my first connections to make it easy for them to get a hold of me. There's lots of good stuff there.
Golden nuggets.
I'm going to look at my pictures with a new eye, and there's some great stuff. Thank you so much, Ian. I think we have enough for two.
Yeah.
And also remember that the first benchmark that you need to get to as a new LinkedIn member is 500 connections, because no one can see on your profile if you have any more than that anyway.
Right.
If you have 500 connections, everyone else thinks you're a superstar who doesn't know.
500 plus connections.
If you have 3, get to 500.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it after that, because that's really up to you.
Get to
but
500.
If you have 3 connections, that's a big red flag for a lot of LinkedIn members, because they're like, okay, is this person fraudulent? So what you want to do when you're sending a connection with as a new member is, listen, I just got on the platform. I'm trying to grow my network. But 500 is the first benchmark for any new member who's joining LinkedIn for the first time.
Very good.
Some great tips there. Thank you, Ian. Thanks for your time. We really appreciate it.
You have yourself a good day.
Great.
All right.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you. So again, that was Ian Nethercott, who is a LinkedIn lion. 21,000 connections on LinkedIn.
Almost
22. He's written some fantastic articles. I would suggest you, if you're on LinkedIn, you could connect with Ian.
Yep.
So
we'll put his information right on the screen for you, so you can see how you can get in touch.
All right. Thanks very much.
Thanks again,
All right.
Ian.
Thanks, Ian.
Okay, take care.
So that concludes the episode with Ian Nethercott on LinkedIn influencers. What you should look out for. We're gonna put episode number 1 and 2 in the link below, because we shot this in 2 different parts. So if you like it, make sure you comment below, you share it, show us some support, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you.